what's up guys? Welcome to the video. It is finally the end of 2017. I'm actually filming this on January 1st of 2018, so Happy New Year's to everyone watching. But as you can see in the title, finally going over my top 10 favorite films of 2017. Now a little disclaimer, these are my top 10 favorite. These aren't the 10 best films of the year. These are the top 10 favorite movies of myself that I went in, that I enjoyed, that are super rewatchable in my opinion. Maybe not even rewatchable, but just movies that kind of like really did it for me. So my list is going to be completely different than yours probably, but that is the great thing about movies. They are completely 100% subjective. So without any further ado, let's get into this list. Now starting off, I want to go over 3 honorable mentions that really kind of hurt not to put in my top 10, but I still really enjoyed. The first being Pixar's Coco. I absolutely loved Coco. The animation looked so good, and the music in this movie was phenomenal. And another honorable mention was also a movie with absolutely amazing music, was Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron in The Greatest Showman. Now, a lot of people are kind of mixed on this movie, but I absolutely loved it. I had so much fun watching this movie, so rewatchable, and the music in it just absolutely tops it off. And then my third honorable mention that really hurt not putting in my top 10, and might surprise a lot of you guys, I'm wearing it on my shirt, Star Wars: The Last Jedi is my last honorable mention of 2017, which was my #1 most anticipated movie going into 2017, but there were just so many things that didn't really sit well with me. But then other parts of The Last Jedi are some of the best moments, in my opinion, in all of Star Wars, and I was just so mixed going back and forth on The Last Jedi that there were just 10 movies ahead of it that I enjoyed just a little bit more. So Star Wars: The Last Jedi is an honorable mention for 2017. So now getting into my top 10 list of 2017, coming in at number 10. It is a sequel to one of my favorite movies of 2014. It is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, wow, really? Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 made it in your top 10 list? For me, I just thought this movie was so much fun, so rewatchable, and like I said when I did my review for Guardians of the Galaxy back earlier this summer, I honestly enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 a little bit more than the first one. There were just so many different things in this movie that were so much fun to me, and Baby Groot. Baby Groot. Oh. Coming in at number 9 is a movie that again was right at the top of my list on most anticipated movies of 2017. It is Blade Runner 2049. Now, Blade Runner 2049 is the most visually just encapturing movie that I have just about ever seen. This movie looked amazing. There were so many different parts of this movie when it comes to just pure performances that were fantastic. Ryan Gosling was awesome in this movie. Harrison Ford reprising his role from the original Blade Runner, absolutely amazing. I loved this movie from start to finish. It's just, it took a long time to get from start to finish. So Blade Runner 2049 comes in at number 9. So my number 8 movie is one that 100% snuck up on me. I am not a fan of the horror genre at all. I admit, I'm not a big fan of scary movies, so I kind of wanted to stay away from this one, but when I actually went in to watch it, I realized how transcending this movie was to the actual horror genre, and just how exciting and thrilling this was. It's Get Out. Daniel Kaluuya as the lead role in this movie was fantastic. One of my favorite performances of this entire year. He really made it, just the way he was reacting to everything going on in this movie. And then Jordan Peele, with his directorial debut, making something of this high of quality just is so impressive. The way he could just kind of like slide humor into this movie that at times was extremely suspenseful and extremely thrilling made this movie so much fun, and it comes in at number 8. Now coming in at number 7 is another movie that I didn't really have on my radar going into 2017. I really didn't even have on my radar going into the theater, and it is Wind River. This movie 100% snuck up on me and really just kind of knocked me off my feet, and I loved it. This movie was so good, and it really sucked you in to this Indian reservation that the movie takes place on, which, by the way, I never want to go anywhere close to these places that they portray in this movie. absolutely terrifying. But Taylor Sheridan did a phenomenal job directing this movie. I think he did the screenplay for Sicario. Fantastic job with this movie. Just really sucked you into the movie. You felt like you were there. I felt cold watching this movie. It was crazy. And Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen, I think, both gave the performances of their career, and I loved this movie. Now, coming in at number 6 is a movie that hurts to not put in my top 5 because I loved it so much. I went to the theaters over and over and over again to rewatch this movie because I just had so much fun with it, and it was Spider-Man Homecoming. I think Tom Holland as Peter Parker is the best version of Spider-Man that we've ever seen on the big screen. I really loved Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. I enjoyed Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man at times, but I think Tom Holland is the best version of Peter Parker that we have got on the big screen so far, and now that he is in the MCU, I think Spider-Man Homecoming was a great springboard and great story to kind of interject Spider-Man and Peter Parker into the MCU, and I'm so excited after seeing Spider-Man Homecoming what they can do with him next. And wow, Michael Keaton as the villain in this movie. I know the MCU gets a lot of flack a lot of times for their villains not being very good, but Michael Keaton in this movie as Vulture, phenomenal. Great performance there. But Spider-Man Homecoming comes in at number 6. Now it is time to get into my top 5 favorite movies of 2017, and coming in at number 5 is another movie from the MCU that I had so much fun with. Like a comic book movie fan's dream was Thor Ragnarok. We finally got to see Thor and Hulk in a movie together, throw down on the big screen, and just kind of collaborate in a kind of like buddy cop movie trying to save Asgard. And this movie was just so much fun, and we got awesome new characters in there as well. We got the introduction of Valkyrie, we got the introduction of Hela, we got Jeff Goldblum as a Grandmaster, we got Tom Hiddleston reprising his role as Loki. This movie was just amazing from start to finish, and it's just so rewatchable. I can't tell you how many times I went back to the theater over and over again just to have fun sitting there watching this movie. It was visually amazing. Taika Waititi did a fantastic job just setting this apart from all the other MCU movies, making it feel like just like its own. And unlike Thor The Dark World or the original Thor movie that definitely felt like they were supplanted in the MCU, this movie just stood on its own as something that was amazing and something that I loved. So Thor Ragnarok comes in at number 5. Now coming in at number 4, it is the sequel to my second favorite movie of all time. It is War for the Planet of the Apes. What Andy Serkis was able to do in Caesar's final chapter in this amazing new Planet of the Apes trilogy was just absolutely mind-blowing. What he's able to do as a performance capture actor is amazing, and this was the best example of that form of acting that I've really ever seen. And Andy Serkis was so good to care about a character like Caesar that, one, isn't even human, and two, isn't even real because it's just all created on a computer, just is crazy. And to care about all the other characters in this movie that are also apes, that aren't real, that are also performance capture, is just crazy. I really loved Steve Zahn's performance in this movie too, as Bad Ape. I thought Woody Harrelson was a really great kind of menacing villain in this movie, and I know that some people are going to say, well, it's called War for the Planet of the Apes, there wasn't a whole lot of war. I still thought that this movie was a great final chapter in one of the best trilogies in film history. So Planet of the Apes, War for the Planet of the Apes comes in at number 4. Coming in at number 3 is a movie that I really kind of wrestled with War for the Planet of the Apes with for that number 3 spot, but when it comes down to just pure rewatchability and how much I enjoyed this movie and went back to the theater over and over and over again to go rewatch, it is Wonder Woman. I loved this movie. I thought it was a great introduction to this character. I know that we got to see her in BVS, but we just kind of forget about that movie. I thought when it comes to just introducing a comic book character, I think this is one of the best films that does that in all of comic book movie history. I thought this movie was so good. The way that they kind of took you to Themyscira and then brought her back into Europe during World War I and kind of made it a fish out of water story and a really great timepiece type of story, I thought was really, really well done. And Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman is just so likable. Like, oh my goodness, what perfect casting. I know a lot of people were kind of not on board when she originally got cast, but after you see her in Wonder Woman, wow. so good. And her chemistry with Chris Pine in this movie, I just loved it so much, and I'm so excited to see what they do with her in the future. I really loved her in Justice League as well, but her introduction in Wonder Woman, fantastic. So Wonder Woman comes in for me at number 3. Now coming in at number 2 for 2017 is another comic book movie, and I know my list has just been riddled with comic book movies so far, but this one really stands apart as one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, and really one of the greatest caps. I know we just got done talking about Caesar. I feel like Hugh Jackman as Logan in Logan was one of the best comic book movies of all time. The way he ended this character arc that we have seen now for 17 years was amazing. And to give this movie a rated R rating, to let Wolverine finally be Wolverine in the character's entirety, wow. This movie just, again, like I said about Get Out transcending the horror genre, this movie transcends the comic book genre. When you watch this movie, if you wouldn't have given Wolverine all his superpowers and you would have just made him just some guy that was out searching for purpose again, searching for meaning, and just waiting to die, you could have taken all his superpowers away and this movie still would have been absolutely amazing. But the way they ended it, and the way they kind of brought in Patrick Stewart as Professor X and let his character come to an end and come to a close as well, this movie will be remembered as one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, and I loved it. I loved it so much. So Logan comes in at number 2 for 2017. So finally we have gotten to our number 1, my top movie, my favorite movie of 2017. If you guys have been following me for a while, you can probably guess what it is already, and it is Edgar Wright's Baby Driver. Talk about fun. Talk about rewatchable. Talk about great performances. This movie had everything. The way they tied in the soundtrack to push the story forward in this movie, I feel like I've just really never seen it. And if I have seen it before, it's never stood out like this. This movie from start to finish was so much fun. The performances in this movie were great. Ansel Elgort as Baby, awesome. Like seriously, so good in this movie. Lily James was great in this movie. You have John Hamm, you have Jamie Foxx, you've got Kevin Spacey, Creep, you've got John Bernthal. So many great performances in this movie. It was just so much fun. And again, you've heard me talk about rewatchability over and over again throughout my list, and when it comes down to it, I bought this movie day one when it came out on Blu-ray, and I've probably sat and watched it at least 5 times since. This movie is just so much fun. The music in it is so good, and it's just my favorite movie of 2017. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's so much fun, and Baby Driver, so good. My favorite movie of 2017. But that's going to wrap up my list. I'm sure my list looks very different than your list, so comment down below, what were some of your favorite movies of 2017, and what did you think of my list? Do you agree with any? Do you disagree with some? Again, comment down below. I want to know some of your favorite movies of 2017. But thank you guys so much for a great year, and I really look forward to another amazing year in 2017. So thanks again so much for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.